having a party is 10 times more than gay. To say that things are jumping leaves not a single doubt that everything is in full swing when you hear someone shout.
Everything is in full swing.
The joint is jumping.
The joint is jumping.
It's really jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Come in, cats, and check your hats. I mean, the joint is jumping.
Come in, cats, check your hats. The joint is jumping. And welcome back at 36 minutes after 5. You're listening to me, of course, Nate Clay, hosting, sitting in for Rowan Roper, and we're going to jump. We're going to jump, keep the joint jumping, 25 years after the death of Harold Washington, November the 25th. It was November the 25th, 1987, that Harold died unexpectedly of a heart attack, and no, he was not, quote-unquote, given a heart attack, as many of the conspiracy theories out there propound, and without any evidence whatsoever. But we also want to acknowledge John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, we are in the midst of, at least some of us in parts of the country, commemorating the assassination, remembering, I suppose is a better word, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And I am most cognizant of the meaning of this time of the year, the meaning of great events. I was a young sailor in the U.S. Navy during that Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 and was sent as part of the 7th Fleet. I was on the ship, the USS Boyd DD-544. We were sent as other ships in the 7th Fleet were sent to surround Cuba to keep the Russians from delivering more missiles installed on the island of Cuba, 90 miles away from Florida, missiles aimed at all the major U.S. cities. If you saw the recent documentary on the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was on PBS. And if you have any interest in this subject, I would suggest you contact PBS or try to get a hold of that documentary. It was so revealing. It revealed things that I did not know. I'm sure many of you didn't know that how close we were to wiping out all of humanity in those dark days of 1962. How close. It made me shiver when I watched this documentary. And what the reason human beings are still on the planet today can be attributed to one individual, a Soviet submariner. The Soviet Union had a system set up at that time. They had the nuclear power, the nuclear submarines, nuclear weapons on those submarines, but they were wise enough not to trust the code that it would unlock the missiles and send them flying. They were wise enough not to trust that whole code with one commander. There were 3 top commanders on this the Soviet nuclear sub, according to this documentary that aired recently. And they all 3 had to agree to unlock the little door and then turn the code which they all had a part of. Neither one knew the whole code himself. They had to first agree to do it, all 3 of them, and if one disagreed, it could not be done. That was the way the safety measures that the Soviet Union had installed, And the submarines, we did not know at the time, according to this documentary, had accompanied the Soviet ships headed for Cuba to install more land-based missiles. And the Soviet sub, as was depicted in the documentary, two of the commanders agreed, two of the officials aboard the sub agreed to unleash missiles, nuclear missiles, on the U.S. But the third one refused. He wouldn't do it. And yet I was aboard one of those ships that put the blockade around Cuba to prevent Soviet ships from delivering any more missiles. And at that time, we were unaware that there was a Soviet nuclear sub beneath us, beneath the ships that were part of the Seventh Fleet. And they were there to back up, of course, the Soviet surface ships bringing on their way to Cuba. And John F. Kennedy, I had just come back from a Westpac or West Pacific tour, and we got word from the president at the time, who gave us these orders. He ordered the captains of all the ships in the Seventh Fleet to quarantine Cuba. And Kennedy insisted on using the word quarantine instead of blockade. Some of his top aides wanted to call it a blockade, but Kennedy insisted, let's call it a quarantine, because the word quarantine, he felt, was less threatening. Didn't sound like we were being overly aggressive by calling it a quarantine instead of a blockade. But at any rate, the media referred mostly as a blockade to it. I guess they figured their readers didn't know what the word quarantine meant. So they referred to that incident as a blockade of the island of Cuba. Kennedy had ordered captains of these ships, if they saw a Soviet Union vessel steaming toward Cuba, they were to fire a warning shot across the bow. Should that ship insist on continuing to Cuba or try to come through the blockade, we were to fire directly on the ship, which could have, which very well might have started World War III, but it wouldn't have been a long war because of weaponry possessed by both the Soviet Union and the U.S. And it was that one commander on the Soviet sub who refused to go along with the other two. I did not know until recently, saved my life and the lives of most Americans, because I was a young teenage sailor on one of those ships surrounding Cuba, not knowing that right beneath us was this Soviet Union nuclear sub who could have blown all of us out the water. It's horrifying just to think about it. But we have to do so, have to make this in reference to the 50th anniversary of John F. Kennedy being assassinated. 591-8900, back after this.
89 WLS.
I will initiate your reforms, but I charge each and every one of you to rededicate your efforts to heal the divisions that have plagued us. Each of us must reach out in open arms. Together we will overcome our problems and restore Chicago to its proper position as one of the most dynamic cities in all the world. The whole nation is watching as Chicago has sent a powerful message. History was made tonight.
Yes, and I was there. Harold Washington. This is the 25th anniversary of his passing. could not leave here today without commenting on that. I have been, this is no attempt to be narcissistic on my part, no attempt to gloat, no attempt to pat myself on the back, but it's just a simple fact that much of what passes or is now called history in Chicago, nationally and internationally, I have been a part of, fortunately or unfortunately. I was, along with Tim Black, one of the directors of the People's Voter Registration Movement that led to Harold's victory. There were not enough black people registered to vote in early 80, 81, 82, when we started the movement to elect the black mayor. Harold Washington was a numbers man, a cruncher, and he understood that. He looked at the registration numbers. He said, it's not enough. If you just put 50,000 more people on the voter registration rolls, I will give it some thought. Well, Harold thought we would never do that. But with the help of businessman Ed Gardner, founder of Salsheen Products, who spent $150,000 of his own money buying voter registration material and buying spots on 4 radio stations promoting Come Alive October 5 voter registration drive. And with those spots on the radio, with the kids that we met, I tell you, it was just a wonderful period in the history of Chicago. We turned the kids on who turned their parents on. We had buttons we gave out to little kids. They went up and down the streets singing our theme song, Come Alive October 5, embarrassing some of their unregistered parents to get registered. We gave all the kids in the housing projects these buttons. They wore these buttons proudly, Come Alive October 5. And Ed Gardner said, I want you all to conduct voter registration like I conduct my business. I want the office open from 9 to 5. I'm going to stack it with voter registration material. I want you to contact community groups from all over the city to come and get this material and strategically place it around their respective communities, which is exactly what we did. Now, Harold charged us with putting at least 50,000 more people on the voting rolls. We ended up with Ed Gardner's expenditures, $150,000 in his own money with the radio time he bought. We ended up putting 150,000 new registrants on the rolls. It was the largest voter registration, the largest number of people who had been registered in any cycle in the history of Chicago. We did it. I was the director, along with Tim Black of the People's Movement for Voter Registration. 591-8900, Harold Washington 25th anniversary. Okay. Well, what we're going to do, since we only have 1 minute, I want to get to you, Beverly. I want you to hold on. And we're going to come back and spend the last few minutes reminiscing about the late Harold Washington. Red, red wine! We're going to toast. Yes, yes, yes. I don't have any red, red wine in the studio, y'all. So I don't want you to come running down here expecting to get a little free taste. But at any rate, we have it in spirit. Back in a moment.
It's up to you. All I can do, I bet. Memories won't go. Memories won't go.
89.
WLS.
Can the Irish Rabbit 12-0.
Saturday, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame at USC. Catch my Fighting Irish pregame show beginning at 5 p.m. right here on 89 WLS.
And welcome back. Let's go straight to the lines. I want to get one more in before I leave. Beverly, you're on WLS.
Happy Thanksgiving, Nate. I called in with a Thanksgiving joke, and I want you to end playing Be Thankful by Duval. You know, the one that says, you may not have a Cadillac. That guy?
No, well, I'm not sure who that guy is, but we appreciate your... I wish you had called earlier. We would have found it.
You know, I couldn't get you.
Oh, you tried, you couldn't get through?
Two turkeys that the President Obama cannot pardon. Only divine by.
Yeah, okay, well, I pardon you, and I am going to be over for some turkey. But in the meanwhile...
I got it on. I got turkey. I got dressing. I got Cornish hen, pork. I got it all. So
hurry up. Okay, Beverly, thank you for your call. And yes, it has been a great time, but it's time for us to depart the premises. And hopefully we will come back and warm up this seat once more. And I hope you and yours are enjoying Thanksgiving, enjoying each other's company until we meet again. Take care of yourself, and always keep you, those people you love, hold them close to you so we can be back again to do this. Thank you.
Now I'd like to say a few words. Hello? I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same I must be going. La la.
But I say you must stay. If you should go away, you spoil this party I am throwing.
I'll stay a week or two. I'll stay the summer through. But I am telling you, I must be going.
Before you go, you won't lie down and never found. You'll leave them going.
I'll do anything you say. In fact, I'll even stay. No. But I must be going.
One station making history every day. There's a new number one, Notre Dame.
Theo Riddick busts into the end zone for a touchdown, rocketing through the Navy defense.